What's so bad about women's basketball? If you look at the comments section of any major sports page, you'd think the answer is everything. You'll see comments about lowering the rims, shrinking the courts, player entitlement, or how the game is just flat out inferior to the men's product. But I have a very simple goal for this five-part series. I'm going to convince you that the loud digital hate for women's basketball is not only unfair, but completely disconnected from reality. For those of you who might be new to this channel, my name is Kayla. I usually do Pokemon stuff. This is very different. I'm a student who's studying information technology and informatics with a minor in gender and media. And as a woman who absolutely loves basketball, watching the online discourse about women's sports recently has been both fascinating and incredibly frustrating. So, we're going to look at the actual facts. Let's start with the college game. In 2024, the sports world experienced a massive cultural shock. The NCAA Women's National Championship between Iowa and South Carolina drew a record-shattering 18.9 million viewers. Now let's compare that to the men's league. The very next night, the men's championship between UConn and Purdue produced 14.8 million viewers. For the first time in history, the women's title game crushed the men's. Naturally, the goalposts immediately removed. Critics came out of the woodwork to say, it's just Caitlin Clark. When she leaves, nobody will care about women's basketball ever again. Which then brings us to 2025. Moving into the 2025 men's title game between Florida and Houston, the game went down to the absolute wire. And due to that, drew 18.1 million viewers, their best numbers since 2019. Meanwhile, the women's title game without Caitlin Clark, which was between UConn and South Carolina, drew 8.6 million viewers on ABC. Instantly, the trolls took their victory lap. See, we told you, it was a fluke. The women fell off.
But, as Carolyn Fitzgerald pointed out in a great piece of Togethxr, calling 8.6 million viewers a failure is a masterclass in bad faith analysis. Yes, it's down from the 2024 anomaly, but 8.6 million is a massive undisputed success. It was the third most watched title game ever on ESPN platforms, and more importantly, it was a 75% increase from 2022, which was the last time we had a title game without Caitlin Clark. As well as that, this is a little less than where the NBA's finals averaged in the past 5 seasons combined, and excluding the COVID year. They wound up with 11.04 million, which, as we will get to in another video, is on its own 18% decrease in the past 4 seasons. We don't apply this fatalistic logic to men's sports. When the 2023 men's championship between UConn and San Diego State drew a record low 14.6 million viewers, nobody went on Twitter and declared, men's college basketball is dying. It's an unwatchable product. We rightly understood that ratings fluctuated based on network TV rights, blue-blooded matchups, and star power, like Cooper Flagg driving interest in 2025, Zion Williamson in 2019, or even Carmelo Anthony in 2003. Yet when women's ratings stabilize at a historically high baseline, it's weaponized against the athletes. So, if the product is good and the audience is clearly there, where are the critiques actually coming from? If it's not the numbers, what is it? To understand the digital community around women's sports, we have to talk about the bias. And I'm not just giving you my opinion, there's hard data on this. A 2025 sociological study by Parsons and Kennedy analyzed over 700,000 tweets following the 2023 championship game between LSU and Iowa. They looked specifically at the digital reaction to the exact same trash talking gesture, the John Cena you can't see me hand. When Caitlin Clark, a white player, did it to her opponents, the digital community largely framed it as competitive, passionate, and good for the game. But when Angel Reese, a black player, directed the exact same gesture back at Clark, she was hit with a tidal wave of vitriol. The study mathematically proved that the discourse labeled Reese as classless and entitled. This is the dark side of women's basketball's explosion. The women's game has a massive intersection with queer communities and Black culture. The players are unapologetically themselves. And for a specific subset of traditional sports fans, that independence is threatening. For every WNBA or college player missing a layup, I could show you a clip of an NBA player blowing a wide open dunk or throwing the ball into the third row. But mistakes in the men's game are treated as an isolated blooper, with stuff like shacked in a fool. Mistakes in women's games, however, are used as indictments of their entire gender and are treated much more grand. The reality is, college women's basketball isn't a charity case, and it doesn't need to be fixed to look exactly like the men's game. It is a highly profitable, incredibly skill based product that generated 8.5 billion minutes of watch time on ESPN platforms in 2025 alone. If you like basketball, actual basketball, with offensive execution, intense defense, genuine rivalry, and X's and O's, it shouldn't matter who is on the court. The hate isn't about the sport, but rather who is playing it. Next week, we are taking this conversation global. We'll be looking at the summer leagues, the Olympics, and how international play exposes the myth that the women's game lacks credibility. Make sure to subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next part.